Hello, this is Daniel with livinginpgcounty.com. Today we have a special guest, certified mortgage consultant Derick Hungerford with RMC Mortgage. Good day, Derick.
Good day to you, sir. How are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Yourself?
Good, good.
So today we brought Derick here to help us understand the cost of buying a home. We understand there are two costs, Derick. What are they?
There are two costs, as you said. There are the down payment, and then you have closing costs.
Well, let me ask you this.
Sure.
What's the difference between the two?
Well, the difference is the down payment will be simply for the down payment on the home. The closing cost is everything you need to pay in order to get into the home.
Okay. Well, today let's just talk about the down payment.
Down payment?
Yeah.
All
What
right,
is
sure.
that? What does it look like, and that sort of thing?
So the down payment will depend on the type of program you get. There are four major types of mortgage programs. You have FHA, you have VA, conventional loans, and USDA loans.
Okay.
So the program will determine how much of a down payment you will have. For instance, FHA, usually your down payment would be 3.5%. So on a $100,000 home or a $100,000 purchase price, 3.5% of that would be $3,500.
Okay.
So if you're going with a 100% program like a VA loan, that would be 0% down. So they wouldn't have any down payment. So of course, getting into a program that will allow for a minimum down payment is the best.
Okay, let me ask you this. For the VA, does anybody qualify for a VA? Actually, what does VA stand for?
Veterans Administration Loans.
Okay.
So it's only for vets,
Okay.
people that are in the military or active duty.
What does FHA stand for?
Federal Housing Administration Loans.
So that's for anybody?
For anybody.
Okay.
For anybody. Now, you can't have two FHAs at one time. Two
You can't.
FHA loans at one
Oh,
time.
okay.
So you have to have one FHA at a time. So
Okay.
usually first-time home buyers, I would say probably 8 out of 10 first-time home buyers will go with an FHA type of product.
Okay, so you just talked about the FHA and VA, and now we have the conventional.
Conventional. So 20 years ago, you needed 20% down for a conventional loan. Today, you can actually get into a house for 3% down
Okay.
with a conventional. We actually have a program for 1% down
Oh,
for a
great.
conventional loan. So
All
that's an awesome program as well. Interest rates are a little higher on that program. Your private mortgage insurance, which we'll talk about later, it's going to be a little higher on that program. But that program is simply for people who may not need a program, which we'll talk about as well.
Okay.
But you can get into a property for about 3% for a conventional loan.
Okay, wonderful. And then the last one you talked about, USDA.
That's under the radar. It's one of my favorite programs, 0% down. Although you have to find properties in a specific area. Those areas include places like Brandywine, Akakeek, Crofton, those areas.
Crofton qualifies for USDA?
Crofton qualifies, yes.
Oh, gracious. That's interesting. Okay.
Also parts of Fort Washington, I said Brandywine and Akakeek.
Mm-hmm.
So if you find houses in those particular areas, you don't have a down payment at all.
Okay. So now, in respect to the down payment, let's just use the FHA as an example. You said it was 3.5% of the contract or purchase price. Oh, this is one and the same.
One and the same, purchase
Okay.
price.
So it'll be 3.5% of the contract / purchase price of the home that's been agreed upon
Yes.
between the buyer and seller. That's what the buyer has to bring to the table. Let me ask you this. Do they need that immediately, or when do they need that funds or those funds for the down payment?
So without going into the earnest money deposit and all of that, usually that money you will need at the closing table.
Okay.
So outside of, there are actually three costs when you buy a house. You have your down payment, you have your closing costs, but you also have upfront costs as well.
Okay.
One of the upfront costs will be your earnest money deposit, which would be used toward the down payment.
Okay.
So outside of that, when you get to the closing table, you have to have your money for your down payment and closing costs.
Real quick on the earnest money deposit, what he's referring to is with all offers, it's been the practice of most real estate agents and practitioners to offer some sort of consideration in order to buy a home. And that consideration does not necessarily have to be money, but it is money that people put down, usually 1%, 2% of the purchase price / contract price. So once again, if it's $100,000, the earnest money deposit could be $1,000, if you will. This depends. The higher the earnest money, the better the contract looks in terms of the seller and the offerings and that sort of thing. So we've discussed FHA, VA, conventional, and USDA.
USDA.
FHA is for everybody or anybody.
Anybody?
Veteran VA, which stands for Veterans Administration, is just for veterans, people in the military. Conventional,
Anybody.
and then USDA.
Strictly for those who want to buy in certain areas.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, those areas are the Akakeek, the Brandywines, Crofton, and parts of Upper Marlboro.
So mostly are the rural areas.
Yeah, they
Okay.
were zone rural back back a while ago, but yeah, those areas.
Okay, so once again, as Derick has described, there are three costs involved in terms of buying a home. You have your down payment, your upfront cost, as well as your closing costs. So next time we get together, we're going to talk about your upfront costs,
The upfront costs,
as
exactly.
well as your closing costs. In the meantime, where can they find you? Where can they, if they have any more questions?
Any more questions, you can give me a call at 301-773-9811. Would love to talk with you. My email address is dhungerford@myrmcloan.com.
Well, thank you so much, Derick. I really look forward to seeing you for the next 2 tapes. A lot of information. So we help our customers and clients out here in Prince George's County who are looking forward to buying a home. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate you. Have a great day.